Welcome to Define Play, where I interview fascinating people to find out what play means to them. My name is Michael, and my guests today are Micah Boyce and Chase Carson, who by day work in tech and trades, but by night play in a band called White Lucy, who just released a brand new album called The Paradise a few weeks ago. I had a chance to sit down with Chase and Micah and hear about their creative process that went into the album, heard about where play and playfulness shows up and informs their work, and I got to hear some very, very funny stories along the way that I think you'll enjoy very much. So let's go ahead and get into it. Thanks for joining us. I want to ask what play means to each of you. When you hear the word play, we each know this word so inherently, and yet it means profoundly different things. If you had to define play for yourselves, your personal definitions, what would you each say?
Definitely should have thought of something prior to this moment. But the obvious answer is playing music, right? Like we love to play music, write music or whatever. But I don't know. I think when people talk about play, there's obvious things like playing sports, playing video games, whatever. But I think with all of that, it comes definitely this kind of sense of I'm doing some activity that's like kind of removing me from like the stressors, you know, the everyday bullshit that you go through, whatever it might be with your work or what have you. But so yeah, I think that's kind of maybe what my definition of play is, like that thing that, I don't know, where you can actually kind of like breathe a little bit and like be like in the moment, you know, like really enjoying it, you know, because like even like with, you know, releasing the record and like whatever, there have been moments, right, like super stressful moments at the end to like, is everything going to clear? Are we going to be the timing and whatever, and just stressful, truly stressful moments. And Mike and I have been like, there's just moments where it's like, is this actually worth doing, you know, because of the headaches, you know? But then it's like, yeah, of course you have moments where you're like, when you feel that, but in the end it's like, yeah, it is definitely worth doing. But in that stressful moments, I go, man, it's crazy to think that a lot of this was just me just sitting by myself and playing guitar and being like, oh, that was kind of fun. Let me set up, you know, take my phone out and do a voice memo and send it to Micah and then, you know, and whatever. And it just, there were those moments where I'm like, where I'm just playing guitar by myself or a synthesizer or whatever. And I'm like, yeah, I think this is going to become something. That's very freeing. Those moments where not thinking about, I mean, so I own a business. We haven't mentioned that, but it's like owning a business, there's a lot of stress involved, you know, like naturally, but it's like play, I think, is when I'm not thinking about that, you know, and I'm not thinking about all the other stressors in life. It's just sitting there playing a guitar.
To be fully immersed, fully engrossed, and everything else fades away. It's really powerful. And then, of course, you know, like you said, the work creeps in. And that's part of sometimes play and playing well, is there's also a good amount of work that comes along with it, and you know, all the stressors that can come with that. But at the absolute core of it, that in the moment is, I think that's the best of life.
For sure.
That's powerful.
No, I think like for me, my definition of play, and I have spent some time thinking about this, and it's funny. It's like I haven't spent.
Thanks for doing your homework, even though Chase didn't do his homework.
Well,
this is classic me. This is like
I haven't spent time thinking about this necessarily in preparation for this, but Michael, you know, you and I have you know, we have kids, right? Or I have one, right? And like it's one thing that's been really interesting.
You have a kid and a dog, so it's kind of like kind of like two kids.
I have two idiots running around my house. Like watching my daughter grow up has been like really interesting, and I don't know if you've experienced this, but like when, you know, they get to a point where they can sort of play on their own, and you realize that, like, speaking of in the moment, that there's this ego-free version of living that they do for such a long time. And you know, when she was really, really young and I was kind of watching her do that sort of thing for the first time, I would have these moments of going like it would almost take me back to that time in my life in a way that was like, really, really like almost like shocking that I could like take myself back there in a way that it had been a long time since I'd been able to like really think about what it felt like to be a child. And so like when I think of the word play, I think of it, and this isn't to like downplay that word, you know, like is to like have that spirit of a child where you truly are existing outside of time. And so like in the moment, like being in the moment, it is really a timeless experience. And so, and it can do two different things. It can make like time feel like it's moving really, really slowly, right? You think of those things in your life that like, you know, it's like you can get to the end of the most beautiful concert you've ever been to, and it felt like it lasted forever. And then also at the same time, it felt like it was over way too quickly. And it's actually because like time, in a way, when you're so in the moment, when the ego is gone and you're fully present, time sort of disappears. And I think that's like when we think about our childhood and like the way like time felt as a kid, it would be these ebbs and flows of like really, really elongated periods and then really short periods. It would be like you're playing with your cousins or your best friends or whatever, and it's like you could feel like you were doing something forever, and then your mom or your dad or whoever would come outside and say like, hey, it's time for dinner, and you didn't want it to be over. And what was happening was that someone was pulling you back into a sort of like ego-based reality that said like there's something else that needs to be happening. Remove yourself from this and start thinking about a future action. And so you are just pulling yourself out of this, and there would be this reaction to it. And so like watching my daughter has been really, really powerful because I see her just constantly like in the moment. And when she's not just in the moment, when she's recognizing that something is missing, or that she wants something, or that she's, you know, uncomfortable, whatever it is, like those are the things where she's telling herself now in that moment, rather than just being satisfied with whatever's in front of her, is that she wants something else. And so like where that translates for me to like my life as an adult is like, you were talking about owning a business, you know, I do like event production outside of this, and you know, again, I have a family and a mortgage and all of these things. And so like everything about just existing as an adult is about the thing that I need to do next to continue to be successful and continue to provide and to continue to really, in some ways, it's like even like getting to the next moment of timeless play. And so we are just constantly in these spaces that actually pull us out of the moment and think about, and then like sort of force us to think about what is coming up, or what do I need to think about that like went wrong previously, so that in the future this thing doesn't go the way that it did before. And so you're like living in either the past, which is regret, or it's a memory, or you're living in the future, which is anxiety, or, you know, it's like dreaming, versus just like the sort of like timeless nature of the present. And so like that's what I think about with play. And so when it comes to music, for me, like making music has become like such a powerful part of removing those things from myself. Like when Chase and I have gotten together, when we first became friends, like we were talking about earlier, and we would just write songs. It's like you almost don't even realize it till later, but it's like all of a sudden you were sitting there and you were riffing together. Chase would be playing something and I would be singing. What was happening is like this sort of action, Chase playing guitar and me singing. I wasn't sitting there thinking about the fact that I needed to do laundry that night so that I could have something clean to wear to work tomorrow. You're just fully present. And making a record has both. Like it has all of the, like we have to plan a recording session, but then you also, like the reason you're doing that is because it's bringing you into a place where it's like you just, it's like lightning in a bottle moment after lightning in a bottle moment. And those moments are so in the moment. They're so timeless. They're so present that it's like constant play. It sometimes like, I think too is like just like going and like we had our album release show 2 nights ago, and you asked us how it was, and like it was up until we got on stage and we started playing, it was not in the present.
Right.
It was very like planning, it was anxiety. It was, I didn't sleep Thursday night. Like I was so wired. But from the time we got on stage to when we got off stage, it all feels like in a weird way like a blur. And I remember it. There were moments of it that I felt big things, but I was so in the moment. And in a lot of ways I was like, we're like cosplaying being a professional musician, you know, like all these people.
You are professionals.
No, sure, but it's like that's not like what I do for a living.
Sure,
it's not like my full-on identity. You know, like I'm not in the Strokes.
Sure.
And so to me, part of it kind of feels like it's like tapping into that same energy that I would tap into like when I was a kid, like playing house with my cousins.
Wow. Your two definitions of play are profound, and the common theme that I'm hearing is this power of being in the moment where time slips away. And I'm curious to see how much that shows up in the way that this album, The Paradise, came to be. And when I kind of zoom out as a non-musician myself, an oversimplification of how an album comes to be would be there's the inspiration and there's kind of the dreaming and ideation. Then there's the experimentation where you're writing and seeing what works. And then there's the execution where you record and you make a cohesive song. Inspiration, experimentation, execution. I would love to hear your thoughts on each one of those phases. And if you have any phases you want to add in that I'm missing. But let's start with inspiration. What was inspiring you when you thought, I think it's time to start making an album again. I want to start writing again.
Yeah.
I will just be playing guitar or a synth or something, you know, and I play something that I think, oh, that was kind of cool sounding, and I'll record it, and it will usually be maybe 30 seconds, a minute, you know, usually not more than that, and I'll just like text it to Micah.
Are you just kind of noodling around and seeing what sounds good? Like, do you ever have a riff in your head, or do you just kind of start playing and see what happens?
Sometimes that's such a good... yeah, this is going to be a good story. It's just stupid. One of the songs on the record is called Got This. The original... So all of the songs have working titles, is what we say, right? Or it's like they were originally named something, and it's usually the most horrendous thing you've ever heard. And then
I know where you're going.
And then it turns into Micah, who's actually, you know, creative with words. He turns it into something better. You know, usually it's something like that comes from the lyrics.
Are you saying you start with the working name and then Micah refines
because
it?
the song
Almost
comes from
always.
me every single time, right?
Yeah.
And actually, there's a lot of times where like a friend will say something so ridiculous that I have a notes in my phone of just working song titles, and I'll just go in and type it in. You know, something ridiculous. Got This original song title was Bathroom Drum Beat, and the reason was because, I'll be frank, I was taking a shit in a porta-potty, and I was just sitting in there in the heat, right, taking a shit in the porta-potty at the job site, and I just literally kind of had this moment where I was like, yeah, this is like, I'm thinking about like a beat or something, and so no joke, I pulled my phone right out of my work pants, and I pushed voice memo, and I cannot beatbox, but I just did something, and I like kind of hummed a bass line, and I was thinking, I'm like, I'm gonna turn this shit into a song, and
that literal shit into a song.
This steamy pile is gonna be a song.
Something about the heat and the fumes
it's
was
bad. It's
like
bad.
bringing you into an almost psychedelic trance that
Basically,
like unlocks something for you.
The second any of my coworkers or my business partners hear this, they'll be like, "This dude is nasty." You know, you should not be touching your phone in a porta potty. Essentially, is what I'm getting at. But
that's a good rule of thumb.
Yeah. But sometimes lightning strikes. And so that turned into Got This, and it was just like I had the idea. And then I don't know if it was like I can't honestly remember if it was like immediate or whatever. But then it was like a lot of times like we were talking about very practical things right before we started recording. Is like, how do we actually write songs and like how does it get to that final version, right? And so for me, yes, there's a lot of voice memo recordings, things of that nature, whatever. So in that situation, bathroom drum beat was like, I kind of hummed out like a bass line and a beat of what I was like thinking this could be kind of like a cool concept. And then I go home and like, I totally, like a lot of people ask me, oh, do you like track any of this at home? But then I just realized Brock is better than me at any of this. And like, we tried the whole like, okay, let me get Pro Tools.
Brock, your producer.
Yeah, Brock the producer, yeah.
Yes.
It's like, let me try to get Pro Tools at home and let me like do this like very like real try to track. And then I realized like this is, I get too lost in the weeds.
It's so good to not overthink it and just be like, no, just whatever, just get it raw.
Yeah.
And
I'm sure we could save a lot of time and money if I was like doing it, you know, at home. And like, there's definitely stuff that I did track at home that ends up going on the record because it was kind of lightning in a bottle. Like the way I played that, even though the recording sounds like shit, I mean, Brock is going to like make it better and that works. But
it's
ultimately,
hard to get that exact same take.
It is hard sometimes, but ultimately what it is like, so like, let's say for the song Got This, it turned into Porta-Potty, voice memo, you know, funny concept. I went home, I transferred it onto my MacBook and put it into Logic. And Logic is like the main tool that I use because it's so good for songwriting. Okay. You know, it's just very user friendly. And so it's like, I use Logic, kind of like worked out roughly like a beat from that, and then grabbed the bass and then tracked bass at home, started putting, you know, guitar to it, send it to Micah. And then sometimes there's ideas that I'll give to Micah and within like a day or two, he'll give me some kind of thing back. And other times it's like
years.
It's years. Literally like the song Better Friends was actually a song I initially kind of tracked or whatever when we wrote the first album. Yeah. And we just never got around. It was just too weird of a song. Yeah. We just never got around. But then Micah brought it up and he was like, I think I got it. Like I've got this vocal idea or whatever. So some songs come instantly, some don't. But anyways, that's like the very practical is like a voice memo, coming home, getting it into Logic a little bit, like, and then going from there, you know?
Yeah, and I like just to stay on track, I don't want to like answer for you, but like my experience with Chase as a songwriter, and this is no shade to the other people that I've made music with before, but Chase is the most prolific songwriter I've ever worked with. Like it's just constant ideas. And I think from an outside perspective, someone who like probably more so than anybody tangibly gets to benefit from your creative output, without a shadow of a doubt, like the number of just demos and voice memo ideas that I have from Chase on my phone. I mean, this is like, we're talking upwards of like 70 to 100 different, like in the time that we've, maybe more. I consume music like crazy, but I'm very much like I consume new music. And Chase is someone who is on the opposite end of the spectrum where it's like he consumes old music and world music, and it's very much all over the place. And I think that benefits you so much as a songwriter because like you're like, it reminds me of like actually what you, speaking of somebody like Tyler, the Creator, it's like these guys who are brilliant like that go out and they find stuff not from now, but from like other time periods,
sampling these obscure deep cuts.
Brilliant shit. Yeah. You know what I mean? And like Chase is just, I don't think you're doing that because you're trying to emulate people like Tyler. Like I think that you're doing that because like you just love music. And if you hear something and you like it, you Shazam it or you write it down or whatever. Like I know if you were to see Chase's Shazam playlist in Apple Music, it's wild. It's so long, hundreds and hundreds of songs, and it's from all over the place. So, you know, as far as his inspiration as a songwriter, again, from my outside perspective, it seems like what it is this sort of like Chase collects like cool ass music, and that influences, and I think that has been really beneficial in that like I get songs from him that are like over here and they're over here and they're over here and they're, different types of beats and whatever. And they all feel very Chase, which in turn, then I put myself on it. And then all of a sudden it becomes White Lucy because we each have our own like sort of stamp on it, that are, that's like true to who we are. But it's still very much like it's you. And also it feels like it's always influenced by music that is like, I just never feel like you're giving me music that feels like you're trying to make the next Mickey album.
You're not like chasing trends.
He's not a trend chaser.
Yeah. You are a chase though.
No, you're a chase, yeah. Trend chaser. Yeah.
I love that.
So so hopefully that answers the question as far as inspiration goes.
What about for you on the lyrics side? Because do you mostly start with Chase provides the riffs
100%,
first?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's what's great, because like I always tell people,
99.8%
I do not sing. It would actually be better for us if I did sing, because I could do some background vocals. I just can't sing.
What if he like had a thought that was just words and he was like sent it to you? What if the process was reversed and he sent you just a couple sentences that was kind of a bit of poetry, and then
I would actually love it if Chase, like, I feel like you could do a really good job writing lyrics.
But I'm so curious about this intersection of like a riff, a guitar riff inspires words, or vice versa. I'm sure there's other folks who do it the other way around. They write the words first, and then they think, what's the musical vessel that's going to carry?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Like I think Nick Cave is like that. I think Nick Cave like writes the lyrics first, and then finds the music to fit.
And I'm sure
that's
varies for every
to
person.
me,
I'm a little bit of both. And in my old band, it was like very much like all lyrics first. And I think coming back to the whole idea of ego and how it shows up like within like being a creative and being an artist, being a musician, I think like if there is something that my ego is wrapped up in, for better or for worse, it's that I consider myself a lyricist before I consider myself a singer. Okay. I like really take a lot of pride in like writing lyrics and writing words, and so as far as like lyrical inspiration in terms of like what I write about, that hasn't really changed. Like for me, it's always been like writing lyrics is poetry, it's therapy, it's like what's going on in my life right now. So our record currently, like it was written over, like I probably wrote the lyrics over a 1.5-year period, and it was everything from, you hear me talking about like during this time I had been a father, like I was like pretty new to being a father, so there's lyrics about that, there's lyrics about being a lover, about being a husband, there's lyrics about like the second song on the record, which was the first single on the record, is Melee, is about it evokes imagery of like revolution and like people taking to the streets and tearing shit down based on where we're at, and like the problem of like AI and artificial living effectively.
Yeah, the song gets me fired up.
Yeah, right. And it's like that. So there's that, and then there's death, which unfortunately has been like a pretty like consistent part of my life and like my adult life, and has constantly sort of knocked me off my feet philosophically, spiritually, whatever, right? And so the record kind of goes from these, and then the other thing that I recognized in so much of the songwriters that we've been influenced by as a pair is like really good love songs. And that's one thing I just never really did before.
Yeah.
And like, it's like the most obvious thing, especially within like sort of like the genre that we try to write in, is like, of course, if we're trying to make R&B music or soul music or whatever it is, or our version of what that is, you write love songs. But it's also like one of the most terrifying things for me to write, because it's like, it's all been done. It feels like when at first, when you first approach it, it feels like it's all been done. Yeah. That there's nothing new to say. But then there's also part of it where it's like, well, if it works, it works.
Yeah.
And I don't actually need to say a new profound thing.
No, you need to say what's true for you.
Yeah, and also like I need to just write a good song.
Yeah.
Me Without You is one of my favorite bands. And I also, it's not lost on me that a big part of me that still loves them and did love them, is that there's like an intellectual, like sort of pretentious nature of being a fan of that band.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. And so it's like really smart. But then it's like, well, there's also something like incredibly smart about writing a really, really great love song that it does not matter if it's my grandma or someone who doesn't even speak the same language or whatever, that someone can listen to that and there's like a universal pull.
Yeah.
Right? Where it's like, most Me Without You songs are like in their own brilliance, they're incredibly isolating in terms of like they're just not accessible.
Isolating, yeah. Wow.
You know, so like I love it. I still love it. They're still one of my favorite bands, or maybe my favorite rock band of all time. But it's like I'm also moved by songs that are universal and that like it does not matter who you are. You can sit down and go, that Fleetwood Mac song, the majority of people will sit down and be like, that is a great pop song.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Me Without You is easily top 3, if not number 1 band for me as well. So, I mean, I fully get it on the deeply intellectual, multi-layered lyrics. It is a distinctly different form of art to use language that is incredibly accessible and simple, but also still has layers. And the beauty of simple lyrics, I guess this is also still true with more intellectual lyrics too, but the listener is going to be able to make their own meaning of it, and what they get out of it is almost guaranteed not what you had in mind, what you wrote it, and yet it still means so much to them because of what it evokes for them.
Sure.
Even if it's not what you had in mind at all. That's like incredible songwriting, where you might have had something different in mind, and yet they can hear what you're saying, and they bring all their own experiences into it. They have something totally different that you'd be like, well, I was not thinking of any of that when I wrote that song. Mm-hmm. And yet, yes, that is 100% true for you. It's really powerful. What is the process like of getting to that point where you think this says what I want it to say, this delivers the feeling I want it to deliver on the music side, on the lyrics side? How often do you have that clear vision right up front? Or what does the play and experimentation look like to kind of chip away at the raw rock to get to the beautiful sculpture beneath it?
That's a good way to put it.
It really is. I know it's probably a bad answer, but it's like, it's really all over the place. Sometimes it's like, yeah, I know where I want to go with this song, and it goes a totally different way.
Part of it for us is that sometimes the experimentation happens within the execution piece.
Okay. Yeah.
You know, like it happens during execution. It's like, okay, we actually wrote this song, we've demoed it out. Now we have to go into the studio and put it down, and you're in there, and then there's like, you're trying to do what maybe it felt light, or it felt like it was missing something. There was some meat not there, or whatever. And then you have to experiment, right? Within that space. So to go back to a previous question, a lot of times the melody for me would actually come first.
Yeah. I see.
And I would sort of sing gibberish, and I might even have an idea of what I want the theme of the song to be.
Yep.
I want the song to be about this. But again, because I've been more melody focused within this band, it was if I can get that down, then I can start writing words and write those words to sort of work into this melody.
Yeah.
And that was actually the 2 records that we've made. That's actually been a really nice. That's set really nice boundaries for me as a songwriter. It's because I'm oh, I like the way that melody sounds, and because I like it so much, I like the way that my voice sounds on it. I can sing it well.
Yeah.
It's in my range. I'm not willing to, like change anything for the sake of words. And then that again is like a new challenge for me to go like, I want to say this profound thing, or maybe not a profound thing. I want to say this really, you know, universal thing about love within this framework. I have a framework. I have to make it work.
Yeah.
I can almost immediately, every single time Chase sends me something, I will pull it up and I'll press play on my phone. I can hear it through my iPhone speakers, and I could be sitting on the toilet and I'll immediately kind of start like singing a melody.
There's an interesting theme here that happens.
A lot of songs were written.
A lot of play.
A lot of yeah. It's
I'm
a
not
good.
going there.
We
I'm
just,
not going there.
We just use our time wisely. That's what
You're very efficient.
We're very efficient.
Super efficient.
So.
Yes, and thank you for the reminder that we're talking about play. In that experimentation phase, is there that sense of that time escaping in the moment sense, or does it feel more like work at times?
It's both.
Mm-hmm.
I think for me, it's both. And the reason why I say that is like, there are times where, so back to that song. I knew that the melody that I heard and kept hearing, I couldn't get out of my head. It was like this weird earworm thing where it was like, you would go, oh, well, if it's like sticking your head that much, it must be the right thing. But like, I knew so deeply that it was not the right thing.
Yeah.
It was not the right thing for that song. And then eventually, like over the course of that year and a half or almost 2 years or whatever, like the other thing came up, and the second I heard it in my mind, it was like, there it is. I've been waiting for you. And the number of times that I've experienced that specifically with White Lucy is like, it's like amazing. Like, I'm trying to think the other songs on our record. Well, like Father Figure on our first album was one where it was like, I really, really...
Melee.
Like that
Melee, you had that one for a long time, and you were like, dude... There was like talks of like scrapping the song because it was like...
Like I couldn't crack it.
It was too weird.
Yeah, yeah.
You know?
I couldn't crack it. It was too weird. And then when I finally got it, it's actually like a very visceral memory for me right now, because the night that I got it, within the week that I got it at least, Chase and I had like practice, and like Chase and I practice is usually just like telling stories and eating.
It's basically this.
Eating Mexican food.
This while you're
and then
holding
we
your
spend
guitar.
30 minutes like working on
Yeah.
music every Wednesday night.
That sounds fun.
It is.
It was like just a good excuse for us to hang out. Like that's mostly what this band is like, it's like an excuse for us to hang out. But anyways, I remember when I finally came up with that melody, I didn't have words for it. The only word that I had was melee.
Okay.
And it was like at the end of the first sentence, or the first like sort of melody that I had. And I came in, and me, you, and Aubrey ordered food. And I was so excited that I had finally cracked it. And then Aubrey was like, Chase's wife was like, I want to hear it. And I was like, well, I don't have it recorded. Like, it's just like this melody in my head. And we sat like at this table, and I was like, you know, like, and she's like, okay. And I was like, you fucking asked. Like, I'll never forget it, because I was sitting like right there, and she was here, and I was like, you know, like, and she's like, okay, yeah, I think I hear it. And I was like, I don't want to do this.
Thank you for your interest. You will enjoy it more if you wait.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the execution phase. One thing that I'm curious about, like for this particular album, how early on did you know this album is going to be called The Paradise? And like, I can picture the album cover in my head. Was that something like I had this from the beginning, or do you bring that in at the end as you're piecing it all together?
It came late.
Yeah.
Within like probably the last like 6 months or something like
Yeah.
that. Last 3 to 6
And
months.
it was all really circumstantial. It's probably the one area in my life where I very much sort of like sit on like faith, is like in like writing music. And that's like, it's like I just have this kind of foundation of like, it's gonna work out and the right thing is gonna come, and it's just never failed me. So the Paradise, the reason the record is called that is there's a voicemail in the middle of the record, and it's this voicemail that I got on my phone from this woman that was calling someone to say that, you know, clearly an elderly person in their life is in hospice and is like reaching the end of their life.
So that voicemail was not actually for you?
It was not for me.
That's why we Brock cut all the names, because they say names in the voicemail. Like, this is so-and-so calling about so-and-so.
Wow, and that voicemail in particular is so sacred. Like, you can hear the you know, if you haven't heard it yet, it's this, you guys have heard it, I'm saying, the people watching this or listening to this, you know, it's this really powerful voicemail of someone saying like, hey, we're asking for these meds but just so you are aware, this person is showing signs of being near the very end of their life.
Yeah. And
so they keep saying transition.
The person was transitioning. And that was a voicemail that I like. Wow. I think it was a Saturday or something like that. And I think we were talking about soccer earlier in F1. I think we were like watching, it was like a Saturday, Sunday morning, and we were like watching soccer.
And it was a wrong number.
And it was a wrong number. Wow. What's crazy about it is the person's name that they said that was like in hospice, that whose life was like close to the end, was Beverly. Okay. My grandmother's name is Beverly. Whoa. She's not in hospice.
Yeah.
I just FaceTimed with her today, and she's doing just great.
Yeah.
But like when I first got it, I was like, wait, what? And like I was like in shock. And then like I listened to it again and I was like, oh no, that's not grandma. Like everything is good. Like this must be a wrong number. So I called back. Person didn't like pick up. And then I called again. And then they picked up and I was like, hey, I got this call. My name is this. Was that who you're looking for? And they're like, no. And I was like, well, you have a wrong number. Sounds like it was an important phone call. I just wanted to make sure you knew. So I get off the phone. I'm creeped out by this situation. It was just kind of weird. And I delete the voicemail. And we're in the middle of writing our record, right? And recording our record. I mean, we're well into recording at this point.
Oh, yeah.
And my wife is sitting like across the living room and she goes, you should, and I let her listen to it before I deleted it. I was like, yeah, I'm getting rid of that. I deleted it. She's like, you should, and then like after I deleted it, she's like, no, don't delete that. You should put that on the record. And I was like, oh, no, why would I do that? And then like, I was like, maybe we could use, like, that's crazy. Maybe we could use it. So I like, luckily there's like a trash can, in the voicemail thing. And so like I undeleted it and then I like downloaded it so that I had it. And what it ended up becoming was like, there were two, and I'm revealing a lot on the album. So if you're somebody who like kind of likes to figure it out on your own, don't listen to this part. Spoilers alert. There's two halves to the record. The first half of the record is very like, sort of like, they're love songs. There's a song about like politics. There's a song about like mental health. There's a song about just like very like sort of just like being a person in the world. They're just songs about that, you know? And then this voicemail happens and the rest of the record is like very much like all of those things, but in the light of death. And so it's placed very squarely in the center of the record to be a sort of like, to really reveal it. I think around the time this happened, we were watching like the final season of Succession. Again, spoiler alerts. Have you watched this show?
Don't do it.
I have friends who tried really hard to get me to watch shows. I just don't really watch that much TV.
Okay.
So
you don't care?
No, it's fine.
Okay.
But other people might care.
They've had their chances.
No,
it's
I
fine. Okay,
stop.
Ignore this part if you don't want to hear spoilers for Succession. But you've had your chances.
In the fourth season of Succession, there is a moment where the CEO, the father of all the kids, dies. And the way that they present it is that like it's not a big thing. It's like the camera is with the kids. The dad, as far as we know, we don't know where he is. And one of them gets a phone call and he has died. And what they experience is like the shock of receiving a phone call of someone telling you that a loved one is dead or has died. And what I think was so powerful about that, and why it sort of like reverberated through the culture, like whenever people talk about that, is it was actually so brilliant in that it was so real. And that's how so many people experience someone dying. Yeah. And so,
because you don't, now I'm thinking about it, it's like in that, correct me if I'm wrong,
you don't watch him die.
You don't watch him die. You only like maybe see his feet or something at one point. You don't see him. You never see him again.
You don't go through the experience of it. So it's like, but
it's like really how when someone
like so many people experience a loved one dying in that way. They're not there. You get a phone call. Yeah. And so when I got that phone call, it put me in that place. I've experienced death. I lost my father. You know, I was there for it, but it's again, like I remember the moment of like being pulled into a room and being told that my dad had terminal cancer, you know, and like the shock of that moment. And like that sort of thing, it takes you from whatever's going on, girlfriend problems, political problems, whatever. And then from there on, everything is through the lens of death. And so that's what that voicemail was able to like it became for the record, is like, that's what it's meant to be on the record, is there like all the poppy fun songs, whatever else. And there's heavy songs before that one too. But when that voicemail hits, like it feels like it's out of left field. Yeah. And it's supposed to. Wow. It's supposed to hit you like a ton of bricks. And that's because like, that's what that type of voicemail does to you. And then the rest of the record are like songs about, again, a death. And then there's this beautiful conversation that we had with Chase's neighbor, Sharon, where she, again, like says some really beautiful things about death. And then there's like a sort of like a catharsis end to the record. That's all like in the light of that. So anyways, that we had been watching Succession. And so that sort of like the brilliance of that episode actually gave me the initial idea of going like, what if we like knock people on their feet in this moment? And so like, again, in the execution phase of going through all of this, there's so much experimentation and so much lightning in a bottle sort of stuff that you come across. And like, I think it's in a lot of ways, as that's heavy, it is playful, right? Because it's like, we had this whole record in mind, and like you start off with like, we're gonna take songs that we wrote and we're gonna put them together. And then like all of a sudden they kind of start stringing together. And our record has kind of loose, like because of that, it like loosely became this like a concept album. Yeah. There's like an A side to the record and there's a very clear B side to the record. The songs on this side of the voicemail feel one way, and the songs on this side of the voicemail feel another way. And that's all intentional. And like when we started writing the record, it wasn't meant to be that way. It was like all of a sudden we realized like the 15 songs that we had written, actually was 16 songs. One didn't make the record, but we released it around Christmas time. And that song is called Christmas Morning, but M-O-U-R. It was another one of the death songs. We just felt like there was too much death on this side. So that song was released on its own last Christmas. But all that to say, like, it kind of just like worked out to where all these things sort of came together. And we were on vacation together a few years ago in Switzerland, and we were on our way. We were in the Swiss Alps, and then we were driving back down to the Italian Alps, and we like stopped off in this place, and Chase and we all got out, and we had a Kodak wind-up disposable camera, and our friend Rin snapped a photo of me and Chase and like on this actual mountainside, and like among all of these gnomes, and like that kind of there was such a cool picture where like that's got to be the album cover.
I was wondering about that. I was like, is this it? You're really in Switzerland in that picture.
It's like a real photo.
But that's also, this is kind of like just funny and serendipitous, but outside of working with Brock, we also worked with our friend Mike Novak. He's one of the owners of the Chicago Electric Piano Company. And outside of that, at their shop, he has like a small recording studio in the back. And so we tracked a lot of the guitar and synthesizers with him, and Mike was actually born in Switzerland. So it's just kind of a funny, just a funny thing. A lot of his family, I think, live in Austria now. But
when you took the picture, did you know this is going to be the album cover?
No, we had no idea.
We were just like taking pictures in this like beautiful scenic place, and like that, like we were just like, look at all these gnomes. Like, this is weird. Let's take a picture. Yeah. And we were like, this could be a cool White Lucy picture.
Okay.
You know, so we like took it, and we have like our serious faces on or whatever, but like. In that voicemail, going back to that, she says that she's calling from the Paradise.
Yeah.
Which is like the name clearly of like this...
The hospice.
The hospital or whatever.
Yeah.
And originally we were going to call the album Paradise, but in quotes, like in quotations. So like a sense of like irony or sarcasm around it. And again, like the idea was like so much of the album is about like an unrealistic ideal around what life is supposed to be like at its best. A relationship, like what does a relationship look like when it's at its best? What does a world look like when it's, you know, not a, you know, post-capitalistic nightmare? What does life look like when, you know, friends or family don't OD, or, you know, you don't lose somebody in your life, you know what I mean? Like this very like, and I think like we've been talking about, it's like so much of us, we spend our lives wanting something other than what we're in.
Yeah.
And so it's like we have this like, that's what paradise would be. And then when that voicemail happened and she says like, it's the, like calling from the Paradise, and we're in this kind of like, we're in an actual paradise, but then there's lawn gnomes in this like, it just felt like the most serendipitous, like meant to be shit.
Yeah.
That all really came together when we were already in the execution phase, studio phase. And I think like when the puzzle pieces kind of started falling together, it was like, yo, damn, like the just sitting back and letting the creative things fall into place, like it happened again.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I mean, the picture is almost metaphorical in the sense of you're in this, like you said, idyllic, beautiful place. I mean, one of the most beautiful mountain ranges on earth in Switzerland, and you've got these little odd, kind of cute, kind of disturbing little gnome creatures all around you, and like it makes me think of a metaphor of almost of how sometimes the beauty of life, the paradise of it all, is mixed with these just oddities that you can notice, and you sit among them, and you can choose how much you want to interact with them. And that, I mean, to bring that back to the whole being in the moment thing, is you can choose how much attention you're going to give to these things, and sometimes you do have to tend to them, and other times you can just sit and be and see what that moment has for you. And it's really beautiful.
Yeah. It's weird how it all worked out, but here we are.
So cool. Yeah. It's so cool how much there's a beautiful blend in your work of there's clear intentionality and really good thought and being really careful about your craft, and you're leaving so much room for to see what bubbles up, and to see what unfolds naturally. And I mean, that's the best of play to me, is there's sometimes you set out to play, you set out to create and make and relax or detach, whatever it is. And then, but what really makes it magic is when you bring that intentionality or that hope or whatever, and then you have open hands and say, let's see. I mean, when you said, I forget when you said it, maybe it was while you were recording. I think it was when you were talking about maybe using the voicemail. You said, what if we? And then I forget what you said after that. But the important, like those three words, what if we blank? And I hear that spirit in your work, and it also, to me, like that is an amazing takeaway related to play too. It's just like to just take that question into so many realms of life of like, what if we
Yeah.
Whatever thing you think like nobody's thought to do that, or we've never given ourselves permission to do that, and all the magic that can come out of that.
We did so much of that with like all of the musicians and everybody that we brought in. You know, like outside of like the song out, the album title and everything else, there was like this like sense of like, what if we, with everybody that, because like when we were executing on the ideas that we already had, we brought in people.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of like...
Well, some amazing people. I mean, Sen Morimoto, and remind me some of the other guests.
We brought in Wyatt Waddell. He's another artist here in Chicago. He came in, he did a lot of the background vocals for Micah, and then also with another artist named Kalia X. She did a lot of the background vocals as well. So it was like that all was working on the vocal side, and then we were like, Wyatt plays bass and he's incredible. So it's like, you want to play bass on some of these songs? And so he starts playing bass. And then it was like we were just tapping like all these Chicago musicians that basically do things better than what I can, you know? It was like, I wrote the songs, but it's like, Wyatt really plays bass. You know, Wyatt really does background vocals. Matt really plays keys. Andres plays drums. And then Sen and Brock are like best friends. And so any chance we get to play with Sen is like, it's really just, we ask him to come in and just...
He plays saxophone.
He plays saxophone. He plays a lot of instruments, but it's like, he's known for playing sax here in Chicago. And so we pretty much are like, we have these two songs. Like there's Make It All Right, which he is like featured as an artist because he plays a long sax, you know, part. Throughout the song, he's playing, and then he has like this incredible solo. And then he also played all the sax on Pain to Be. And that's just kind of like melodic throughout that song. But it's like, I remember when Sin played on our first record, I felt like when he was leaving the studio, I'm like, we could probably have him on every song. You know, it was like that.
Make it a permanent part of the band.
But that's like not an option, you know. It's like you can't just have sax on every song, you know. I mean, yes, you can, but
what if we?
What if? You know? Yeah. The other artists that were on the record were some of the features. So there's an artist named Swam here in Chicago. He's a rapper. When Brock hit up Swam, was like, hey, here's this song that White Lucy has that they're considering a feature on. Would you do it? Swam, like, immediately, within like a day, I think, or two maybe, like, freestyles this verse. And we just loved it. And it was great. And that is what is on the record. Well, then when I was talking to Jasper was like, yeah, Swam was kind of saying like, yeah, I could have done something else, but like, they just took the freestyle, you know? And that's what we just loved it. We just like, we're like, yeah, this fits. Like this was like a raw thing, and he just freestyled, and that was great. Well, and it was so fitting on the record. I'm like, that was incredible.
Your neighbor Sharon, we took some of the stuff that she had talked about and put that on it, and then I did a part on it last minute, and then we actually roped in some audio that I'd taken when we were in Switzerland.
Of some people singing.
Of some people like singing these like traditional like Swiss. It was the craziest thing too, because like even in that moment, like, yeah, I think in terms of like gathering inspiration, like when we got to our Airbnb in Switzerland on that trip, me and Chase and our friend Brian, we get to the Airbnb. Our wives were in a different car. They were behind us. We get there. We kind of like check everything out. I walk out onto the balcony of our Airbnb, and we're like looking out in this beautiful like Swiss alpine lake. And over to my right is a community center, and you can just hear this like Swiss mountain song being sung by a choir that is practicing. Wow. And it was like, that was kind of like the first time we had like kind of like walked out into Switzerland, and there's like the most Swiss soundtrack you can imagine. I'm like, am I at Disney World right now? And so I pulled out my phone.
Is this Sound of Music?
Yeah, and I like pulled out my phone and I recorded it.
Yeah.
Because I was like, this is crazy that like I walked out of, you know, onto this balcony, and it's like the first time I'm really
Those folks have no idea they're on your album.
Yeah, and I recorded it.
We don't even know who they are.
So that's why that's there. So that's a fun little thing.
Cool. The last artist, Samira Truth, they are from Chicago, live in New York City now. I'm just a big fan.
Of course,
incredible rapper and DJ, everything. And Brock, there was a connection there. I don't know what the connection was between Samira and Brock, and we were just entertaining ideas for that middle track, the Paradise, the title track, because Micah does no vocals on it, which is kind of fun. But Brock's like, I can make the connection. And so he makes this connection with Samira, and that was another one that was just so mind-blowing because he like texts Samira or emails, I don't know what the thing was. Basically it was like, hey, here's the situation, we've got this song. Let me know if you're interested. Yeah, I'll do it. And it was like very simple, like, yes, I'll do it. And Micah and Samira talked like, hey, kind of just concept of the album, whatever. And so Samira's verse is just like, it was just perfect. It's like the feeling of someone has called you to tell you someone you love or care about has passed away. I felt incredibly honored. I couldn't believe it. I'm just such a big fan of Samira, and yeah, I'm like, I can't believe they're on the record. So
it's amazing.
Anyways, yeah.
I mean, the thing I'm hearing in all of this, and to kind of close here, is I love that you both use the phrase "lightning in a bottle." That to me, it captures so much of the magic of making art. Is that here, I'll pontificate a little bit here. The lightning is that creative spark when you're sitting in the porta-potty.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's like, if you waited until you had a more convenient moment to write it, you might have missed it. Like, the lightning struck there in the porta-potty. You had to capture it then. And like, if you hadn't, you probably wouldn't have gotten the same result. The bottle that you're carrying around is all the work you do in all the other areas of your play or your life, and your work and your showing up in the work that you do makes it so you have the bottle ready when you need it. And then now you've created these structures so that when that moment strikes, you've got the vessel for it, you've got the thing to apply it towards, and that's where the real magic happens. So
I've heard people talk about like creative ideas, those lightning in a bottle moments are like things that are like kind of like floating around in the universe, and you can either grab them, but if you don't grab them, like they're gonna go past you, and somebody else might grab them.
Yeah.
So it's like you can have those like weird moments where it's like, dang, like I kind of had thought about that one time, and it's like, well, that's because you didn't grab it and do anything with it, so it went on to somebody else. And I think that like that's why I love making music so much, because it is why I love making art, is that there is this like when we went into this project, we knew we wanted to make an album, but we didn't ultimately know what it was going to turn into. We didn't have a theme. We didn't have an album name. We didn't know exactly how the songs would all fit together, and it was really just like trusting the process.
Yeah.
And so like there's a process for us, but there was I think this time around, probably more so, and I think it was just the circumstances of our lives kind of forced us to like not have a white knuckled grip on the process. And it actually allowed for more we were more open, I suppose, for things to just happen. And it feels really powerful to recognize that like when you sort of surrender yourself to the creative gods to just like give you the thing that it's gonna give you, like and again, like it's not that we don't take it seriously. I think that that's something that's like really interesting with this concept, is like for some people the idea of play is like, oh well, that's not serious.
No,
but that's not it at all. Like you can be incredibly playful and free and not like in the present, but just allow for like joy to take over, allow for life and the beauty of life and whatever sort of like springs out of that to just like happen. And to me, like when I look at this record and what we made and what we've made together over the years, like it's just a lot of that. And it's like, it's just cool to look back on it all and be like, we couldn't have planned for any of this, but there was a decent degree of surrender and kind of just letting it happen that, you know, I'm like, it's scary actually when you kind of like let go, but all in all, it's like, no, there's like really no better way to do it.
Yeah.
There's a really good quote from Cornel West. And he says it in almost every speech or lecture that he gives, and it's probably in all of his books. But he says, I am who I am because someone loved me, cared for me, and attended to me. And it's like, there's times like, you know, usually around Mother's Day or Father's Day where I like really feel that, you know, like Aubrey always jokes and says, you're so lucky that you have like really good normal parents, you know. And because she's like, not everybody gets that opportunity, you know, like and so I feel that way, you know, especially with writing music and playing, you know, playing music or whatever. It's just, you know, like I was mentioning, all of these people that we got to work with, and it's like, in a sense, they show their love to us, you know, by working on these songs. They couldn't be what they were without all of these people. To just feel very fortunate, I don't know, that people love us and care, you know.
I feel very fortunate that you two have borne your souls to me and shared all this with me, and thank you for doing the very vulnerable act of releasing art into the world. And we're all better for it. So for all the time you've put in, for all the work you've put in, and the many hours, thank you. And thank you for all this. It's a real gift.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, man. Thanks. Yeah, this was super fun.
Good.
Great conversation.
Wait, can I add one last thing?
Yeah.
There was really no shade towards Liverpool or Arsenal.
Oh yeah. Well, I'll save it.
Yeah.
I'm too new to it to really know what I'm talking about.
I don't.
We'll see if this makes
I don't know
it.
anything.
All I need to say is that, you know, Mikel Arteta has a Lego haircut.
A Lego haircut. I know he looks like Uncle Jesse from Full House, but a Lego haircut is next level. His hair is immaculate. Is that what you mean?
It's like it looks like a Lego guy's haircut.
Like where you can pop it on and off?
Yeah, it looks like you can like take it off, like you could click it off and put it back on his head.
So funny.
I don't know who this is. I'm excited to
The
figure it out.
coach of Arsenal.
Yeah.
Hilarious.
Anyways.
Incredible. Well, cheers to that.
Yeah, of course. Cheers.
I hope you enjoyed this conversation with Chase and Micah as much as I did. You can learn more about them and White Lucy and buy a copy of their album on vinyl record at whitelucymusic.bandcamp.com. I'll put the link in the description below. You can also stream the album on your favorite streaming service of choice, and you can learn more about our show at defineplay.com. If you enjoyed this conversation, please send it to a friend who you think would enjoy it. And if you're not already subscribed to us on YouTube or your podcast platform, please do so we can reach more people with these conversations as well. Thank you again for checking it out. My name is Michael. We hope to catch you next time. Bye-bye, friends.